is this is a work of technology. This is an algorithm that is generating infinite numbers of patterns right before your very eyes. And yet, this is also a work of art. This is an intentional design. This captures everything that you learn about color and light and shadow and shape, everything that art is meant to be. And what is so fascinating about this is that it is in a constant state of flux. It is constantly regenerating itself right before you. It is a living work of art. And I think what's so important about this is that it's a combination of two very different languages. You have the language of technology, you have coding, you have a very specific algorithm that is running this. But you also have the language of art and expression. And this is, in my opinion, the perfect combination of those two very things. Technology as art and art as technology. And I think that where we are at right now in Chattanooga, everything that I've been studying at UTC really kind of all is culminated in what this piece of art represents to me. The topic of discussion that really came to mind more than anything else was this idea of communication. Everything that I've been doing right now, just with the university, the role that I play there, working with students, working with community members, it's all about communication. And we're having to learn how to communicate in different ways now. Technology is playing a larger and larger role in our life. And what we see here is that it's possible for technology not only to be a form of construction, but also a form of expression. And I think that where we're headed is that we're going to have to learn how to communicate using technology in an expressive way with each other. And actually we can harness that to find a whole new cultural communication, which I think will affect all different kinds of areas of our life. Everything from our personal homes all the way to the types of cities that we build. This particular piece called Big Bang is by an artist named Leo Villarreal. And he is known for his LED light installations. That's what this is. This is 1,600 individual LED lights that are running off of an algorithm. I think that there are a couple different things that we can see here, really. There is intention in the design, even though what we see is very chaotic, seemingly random. There actually is a design both in how it's constructed. Not all of these lights are evenly spaced. There is an element of actual construction in how he set this up. But then also just the algorithm that's running it. And for those of you who don't know anything about coding, basically what is happening here is he has created a set of conditions that these lights follow. So when you plug this in and you start it up, it begins with those set of conditions, and then it is constantly regenerating itself. This is constantly recreating itself. And yet what's also interesting is that it's also very intentional. I mean, this is a work of art. There was an artist who crafted the algorithm that runs this, even if its intention is to generate a random grouping of colors and lights. It is something that's constructed. I mean, it's not going to, it cannot vary from the set of conditions that were outlined for it in the beginning. So it's both a created thing and a recreating thing, which I think is captured really well in that name, the Big Bang. There is the potential for even this work of art, I mean, for somebody to literally hack into this and make it and change what it's doing, to do something different. Which is also an interesting kind of part about this as a work of art. It's not something that independently hangs on the wall in here. It has a power source. I mean, there is a resource that it requires to be able to do what it does. And that resource is actually what links everything together. That is what people are able to access this information with. And if that resource is not available, you know, this wouldn't cease to be. I mean, it is not self-sustaining beyond the source of its energy, which is something I think that we have to talk about. That is an essential part of everything that we're building in our society, is this, sustainable energy. And how do we continue to keep that going? You will never see the same pattern in this within your lifetime. Apparently, the patterns that this generates can go on for 85 to the 200th power years without repeating. Now, what I thought was interesting about that claim is that there's no way that you or I can sit here and ever verify that. I've stared at this for quite a bit of time, actually. There's no way that I could ever, know that I've never seen that pattern before. There's no way for me to verify that claim. But that is the claim, is that you could sit here for the rest of your life and never see the same design in this work of art.
It almost seems like we're on this trend or this kind of wrong thinking of a screen in any situation, adding a screen to a situation instantly makes that situation easier, or adding smart technology to anything makes it easier, when it actually might not. Like, for example, refrigerators, smart refrigerators, or refrigerators that have a screen on it that tell you what else is in it, or a microwave that's connected to your phone. And it's not, is that really necessary, or does it just add complication to the situation? Like, was there problems? So what are your thoughts on, like, how can technology be better integrated in our lives in a way that actually, like, adds stimulation creatively and intellectually, and, like, I don't know. Does that make any sense?
I think, yes, I see where you're going with that. And that's actually an interesting question. That's one that's come up even, because I've been asking different people about that. I mean, I have a dishwasher that I can connect to with Wi-Fi, and, what is the purpose of that? What is that telling me? What can my dishwasher tell me that's going to be useful? And I think that part of it is that technology has not caught up to some of the ideas. To me, it's not about what can my dishwasher tell me necessarily, but how can everything in my kitchen communicate together to manage that more effectively. I think that this is where we get into predictive technology. Can my dishwasher, in communicating with my stove, determine that I've cooked a certain size meal and, anticipate, loading so many dishes and then running? That may not be a good example, but I think part of it is that it's not necessarily about our interaction with it, but how it interacts with each other, and looking for more ways to harness the interaction that can take place outside of ourselves to make our lives easier. Because I think right now most of our interaction is kind of face to face ourselves, whereas really technology is going to be communicating with technology. We cannot, and that's what I was going back to. We cannot sit here and look at this work of art and assimilate every pattern that it has generated. But another piece of technology could do that and maybe give us something meaningful back. And I think that that's where really the choice that we have to make right now is, do we embrace technology in such a way that we continue to follow it through to its logical conclusion to where it is useful to us, or do we say, whoa, this is not really where I want to go, that I need to be able to interact with this, I need to have control over what's happening here. I don't know if that directly addressed everything, but that's kind of following that line of thinking. That's kind of where I've been, and I think that that's the choice we have to make. Do we continue in this direction, or not? But this is conceptual. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not just it's not simply taking a video or a photograph. It's not something that it's using technology to generate art right before your eyes, and that's pretty cool. You can't digitalize this. The museum was gracious enough to provide us a photo that we used in some of our advertising, and quite honestly, a photo can't capture this. You can't digitalize this moment in time. In that respect, this form of art, in my opinion, is more akin to theater, because that's what it is. It's a moment in time, and you will only witness this once, and after it's gone, you won't see it again. It's more ethereal than other types of art. which is really interesting. That technology, something that is so concrete in its makeup, could create something that's ethereal. That's really cool.